We're gasping on the live here.
But we're not gonna post.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah. I'm like, okay. I remember you said you wanted to talk shit, Ellen, but I don't know if this is the best use of that time.
It's so annoying to like feel depressed, you know? It's like such a waste of time.
It really is, honestly.
I'm just like sighing all the time. I'm like,
I feel like I don't really know when I'm depressed. Like I feel like
Maybe you're not.
because I'm fighting it. I'm fighting like I'm thinking, no, I'm not. I'm not depressed. But I'm in like denial. Because then people are like, okay, are you like sleeping? Are you eating? Are you crying a lot? I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not doing any of that stuff besides crying a lot. And they're like, okay, yeah, you're depressed, bitch.
cheers to that.
Oh my God, your nails. Nobody look at my nails. They're very bad.
I'm looking at them.
Don't. It's because half of them keep breaking off. I almost broke off another one this morning.
I sometimes think that chip nails look good.
I think they make somebody look like a human,
Yeah.
you know? Like if people's nails are too perfect all the time, I'm like, huh, you're really keeping up with a lot of stuff here.
It is so hard to keep up with the nails.
Fuck yeah, I know. I never get gel or anything either, so mine are like always chipped. I can't get it because it ruins my nails. Then they don't grow. And usually all my nails are like crazy long like this one. But now it just looks like a Coke nail, which it is not.
That is what it looks like. How in the world are you able to keep them that long? I don't know. I chew them off.
Feel it. Feel it. Feel it.
That is a weapon.
I know. It's very strong.
Isn't it funny when you're on TikTok and people are like, the new trendy nail shape? I'm like, who starts that? Like, who decides that this is the trendy nail shape? Who decides? Because remember when the oval was in for a long time?
You know,
It's
I've
weird.
always had my own shape of nail, and I've never went to a different one. And in fact, my ladies at my old nail place used to call it the Broch nail.
That's really cute.
Because no one had ever got it before. And the key is that you make sure the sides stay straight, okay? And the end is the only part that's tipped, because if you try and do the whole thing tipped, that's how it snaps off. But if you keep the sides straight, it stays strong.
When I do because I do my own nails, and when I do them, I tend to leave them like that because they make your fingers look so slim.
Yeah. Hand model. Except for with my nails done.
Wow. But yeah, thank you for coming to my house on a Sunday. It's so nice of you.
I wouldn't be anywhere else.
But
where would I be?
I know, but I wanted to have you on as a first guest because you would be the best person to help me reshape and like rebrand my podcast. So
I love
here
doing
we are.
that. I do that for people, places, companies, things, media.
Yeah. And I'm just like, it makes sense. It's a new year. I love
New
rebranding
year,
myself.
new Helen.
Yeah. So we're going to basically shift from 3 gems to single writers only. And the reason is I have a sketch show that's called Single Writers Only. And the laziness in me is like, I don't want to have to promote that and then also a podcast with a different name. So in my head, I'm like, let me just combine things and like streamline everything.
Listen, it's not laziness. It's cohesiveness.
Yeah.
Really.
That's true.
Because if you want people to think of you in a certain way, as far as like what you talk about, the stories that you tell and everything, it's really important to kind of mesh them together. And even if you did still keep it as 3 gems, you would have to in some way change it that it would then match what you're doing with the sketch show in
And I
some
wouldn't
way.
know how
So
to
you
do
might
that.
as well just
Yeah. And it's less about how I come off and like my brand. It's more so of like what is going to be the easiest thing to do,
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, even though it's easy for you,
Yeah.
it's easier for other people to wrap
True.
their heads around
True.
and think of you in one way because people are, you know.
Subconsciously, I know, yeah, I feel that. I feel that as someone who, when I'm consuming media, I'm like, that is kind of how I go about it. So yeah, makes
Yeah,
sense.
like I'm only child syndrome.
Yes.
And, like, everything about, and I tell dark comedic female stories. So everything about me is something under that umbrella.
I love the idea of that, like, umbrella format, because it just gives you a little bit more freedom to, like, do all sorts of things with all different kinds of looks and brands and
Yeah, well, we're all different
Yeah.
types of people in many different ways.
I know.
You know?
What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, so basically Single Writers Only is gonna be a podcast that explores relationships, but also keeps the aspect of Three Gems that I loved, which is like talking to writers and directors and producers and creatives and tying in how we navigate the industry and the relationships that we have and power dynamics and everything like that.
It's
And
so
also,
easy to have a relationship when you work in this
I
industry.
know.
Isn't
And then
it?
also just being single is a part of it, because I think that if you dig into it, it's like being single is the easiest way to kind of succeed. It's like, it's so hard to be in a relationship when you're trying to get established as a writer, as a director, you know?
Why do you think like 80% of LA is single?
So much sense. That makes so much
Or
sense.
like polyamorous or,
I know,
you know, whatever.
ethically non-monogamous.
Yeah.
I don't even know why people call it that. I'm like, what? What is that? I don't know. But yeah, let me see. What are we going to talk about first?
Reinventing ourselves.
Reinventing ourselves. Okay,
Which is
so
what you're doing.
this episode is going to be about reinventing ourselves. 2024, new me, new K. What does that look like to you?
Well, first I would like to say that when Helen sent me this, I was obsessed with this topic because my mom was a huge fan of Madonna growing up. She was a Michigan girl. I'm from Michigan, so
Madonna's from Michigan?
she's from Detroit. Yeah, my dad used to be friends with her old boyfriend, so my parents have met her in the past, which is back in the 80s. She's someone who I always really looked up to because I loved that she could be so many different people within any different set of time. She could be like super masculine. She could be super feminine. She could be talking about being a material girl. She could be talking about like just having fun with her friends at the bar, not giving a fuck about men. And she always looked so different. And I became like obsessed with changing my appearance. Obviously, my hair is not naturally red, but changing my appearance and just my looks from day to day. So one day I would like dress up like a boy. Another day I would be like super feminine and like floral shit. Another day I'd be super trendy. Another day I'd be punk, whatever. I was never really into like that one look of thing and or looking like anyone else. But besides my looks, I have reinvented myself career-wise so many different times because, I don't know, I just set my mind to something and then I decide that I'm going to do it. And then kind of once I strategically realize that maybe there's something else for me out there, I usually pivot. So I worked in the beauty industry, and the music industry, in marketing and sales, as we kind of talked about. And then, of course, writing and film.
I'm so paranoid, but okay, good. It's recording. I wasn't sure.
Oh my God.
You're good, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
But now I think that because I've basically decided that this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, writing, I think that my reinvention is more subtle, because different parts of me can lend itself to like the same goal, kind of as we were talking about with like the umbrella of a brand, even. But this is more of me, I guess. So for reinvention for me, one thing in 2023 I will say is podcasting became more of a thing for me, which now here we are. I've been on several podcasts and I never really pictured myself sharing like the things that I have about myself as I do now, and or like podcasting that much. But I think it's a fun medium for me, and I definitely want to do more of it into the new year.
Did it come from like you listening podcasts and then kind of it trickled into your subconscious and you created one, or how did that happen?
No, I'm going to be completely honest. I actually listened to many podcasts and I did not like them.
You were like, "This, I could do so much
I was
better."
like, this is so boring. I've probably said this a million times on everywhere that exists, but I have severe ADHD. I'm definitely a visual person, so like putting something audio wise on, I can't really absorb it very much, especially if there's like a bunch of veering all over the place and the stories are not like compelling, and I'm like, you can edit this fucking thing, cut out all of this, like what are you even talking about, you know what I mean? Like I don't want to just hear you guys chatting
That's
about,
literally
like,
all I want to listen to. I just want to hear
shit.
people chatting.
No, I want to like gain nuggets, gems, if you will, because I can only pay attention for a certain amount of time. So either I'm going to not pay attention for like 80% of the time and only catch little nuggets of things that may not be helpful, or I can pay attention for the whole time if you like keep me entertained, I would say. And so my podcast co-host Hannah, who we were on Three Gems together, she was obsessed with podcasts. She was a podcast producer.
Wow.
And so she had all the equipment. She had a podcasting studio at the time at her apartment. And so she was the one who had been like digging at me for like probably a year to be like, we should do a podcast. We should do a podcast. And I was like, I have so much other stuff going on. Unless I can think of a way that this is going to actually benefit me in my career, I'm not doing it. So it was totally about what are the ways that I can practice things like storytelling in the ways that I would need to in a writer's room or for generals or in comedy or whatever it was. And then also meet new people who could help me basically get ahead. And also at the same time, promoting women's empowerment in the stories.
I love that angle that you have.
Yeah, I mean, well, and it sounds really good to other people too. So when you tell, so I'm like, yes, I'm a saint.
It does make you look like a really good person.
Yeah, I mean, I am a good person, but also I'm aware that it does make me look better.
What is like a dream guest that you guys would have on? We haven't even said the name of your podcast. It's She Said
so
Let's.
it's called She Said Let's, 3 dots, an ellipse, if you will, and an exclamation. Because that basically means that you brought something to another woman and she was the one who said yes to you.
Yeah.
And you're doing something together. So it's not just about the one person, like the only child syndrome angle that I have. But yeah, so it's all about something you were fearful of doing in film and TV. And then, so men can be on it as well, but they have to only promote the women in their lives that have empowered them to make
like
changes. Yeah, we're just talking about the ladies.
So who's a dream guest for you this year?
I mean, if I were going like crazy blue skying it, I would say Little Dicky because I fucking...
What the fuck? What? That is not... In my mind, I'm thinking she's going to say Greta Gerwig. Little Dicky?
Oh, yeah, I guess I probably should have said a woman, huh?
But I get it. He's so funny. Did you see him on Call Her Daddy?
No. Oh, yeah, I did.
That was a great episode. I loved it.
I will admit that I'm very weird about like auditory stuff too. And as you can tell, I have a deeper voice for a female. And what's her name? Alexa.
Oh, you can't do her voice?
I can't.
Wait, what? Why was it? Is it?
It's like very like vocal fry.
I would say
like
but it's deep. It's a deep voice. She has a deep voice.
I don't know. Just something about it is irritating to me. Unfortunately. So I listen to it because of the other people on it, but it's not anything about her as a person. It's just literally the sound.
That's interesting.
Of her voice.
I don't have that with... I know a lot of friends of mine do have that. It's like, my ex had a really big thing about women's voices. I don't know why.
What did he like?
Just always saying like her voice is... Oh my god, this is so misogynistic. He would always be like, her voice is annoying. And I'm like, is it? But it's like you're
I mean,
saying,
that's just what I said, but
yeah.
yeah.
So he's not that.
I mean, there's a lot of dudes' voices who are annoying. Bro voices are super annoying, bro.
I heard the voice of some guy this morning. I've never been so. Ugh, I hated it. It's hard to describe. It was like it did not match his face. That's as good as it can.
That's also
it.
confusing. That is also confusing.
God.
But yeah, so Little Dicky only because, listen, I know that people could say that yes, he was somewhat privileged. He had like a really nice family. His parents, you know, he used his bar mitzvah money to like make his first music video, and then but has always actually wanted to work in like writing and the film industry. But I think he's just a really good example of working. He also worked at an advertising company. I work at a marketing company. Like he used those things to then kind of create like jingles and shit and raps for like the advertising company. So I really like someone who takes like all the things that they've learned and then kind of creates something else out of them. And I just think his show is really smart. I love how he brought up, you know, two of the main actors are people that actually worked for him, and like his actual producer is
Wait,
the producer. Really? Yeah.
Who?
Els is his actual producer, and Gata is his actual hype man.
No way.
Yeah. Like on tour with him. Never acted in his life. Now, literally in a bunch of movies, doing television shows.
Who's Els?
He's the producer for him. He's the black guy who's also Jewish.
Oh, yeah. See, I'm so bad with the names, but I do know all of the cast. I do really enjoy watching that show.
Yeah, and I think also because I worked, you know, in music as well, it's just like the perfect melding. Like, he just feels like kind of like a male version of me. It's very neurotic.
Yeah.
You know, he's constantly wondering if he's a good person or not, which I'm often wondering. So, I also just think we'd have a really good like banter back and forth.
Oh my gosh, his energy is just great. I really enjoy his energy.
Yeah, I'd fuck him for sure.
He's so fun. I feel like I'd be friends with him.
Oh, a hundo P. I mean, I won't fuck you if you'll hire me to be in your writer's room, but
I know. You know. I wonder what he'll do after Dave. That'll be exciting to see.
Yeah,
because it's gonna end soon, right? Or have they announced?
I mean, I hope not. It's been through 3 seasons, I think, so far, and they're
like
going into 4.
I just rarely see any shows.
I mean, continue. It's FX, so at least they'll probably do like 5. Anyways, also another thing about reinventing myself, I have actually never written or directed sketch comedy, and looky here,
look at
Helen has me doing it for SRO.
I know, SRO, single writers only. We have a show.
Writers only.
We have a show on the 26th of this month, and I get to just kind of like put together a writer's room, and it's an ever-changing writer's room. So it's like some people who can't do it the month of February, like I'll just bring in other friends who have the flexibility with their schedules, and then the writers who want to come back, they can come back, you know. I try to keep it small, but I'm glad you're doing it this month.
Yeah. I feel like for a long time I would say like, oh, like sketch and like improv is not really for me. Like I write dark comedy, and you know, I think because maybe my actual writing voice a lot of times is a little bit more angsty when it comes to like a whole narrative that we're coming up with. However, I had so many of my friends be like, you are like the silliest, most ridiculous person ever, and you fucking love sketch. Like you literally watch every sketch show that exists, and you're always like cackling, laughing.
It's great.
And have been doing that for years. So I think it's almost like it just feels like being goofy doesn't feel cool or something, like subconsciously to me. And so I've been fighting that, but now here I am, and I'm gonna actually use those weirdo skills of mine.
Oh, it's so fun. It's so fun to like punch it up together too.
Yeah. I just love a writer's anything about a writer's room.
Any writer's room where you can kind of like practice pitching is also great. Probably one of the reasons I went through with the idea the first reason I went through with the idea was because I was bored and I was like, I want to have something to do on a Friday night. So let me just make a show and like bring my friends who I know aren't doing anything. We're all just sitting at home and like, you know,
I'm usually just working on something else, you know?
Exactly. So I'm like, you know what? Let's just like, oh, also, as someone who's recently single at the top of the year last year, I kept hearing, I don't want to meet people on apps. I don't want to meet people on apps. I want to meet people in real life. And I'm like, how are people going to meet in real life?
That's me.
Like,
that's also me saying that.
I'm like, it's insane. I don't want to do that. I get so nervous. I wouldn't want to meet people.
Oh my God, really? Yeah. I feel like it's showtime, baby.
God. Dude,
I love that
night,
shit.
I was mortified. I was with my friends, Maya and Nayeli, and there was this guy who I thought was really cute. And he was standing here and I was standing here. And we purposely went up to them because he's standing. Anyway, I was a little tipsy and I was like, somebody like pushed me into him. Like somebody pushed me into him and I was so drunk and so dumb. And they pushed me into him and I lost it.
That would be me.
Okay, I was on the ground like pretending to grab things for 20 minutes. Like I was not.
What do you mean?
He was like, "Are you okay?" And Maya was like,
"Why were you on the ground,
Dude,
Helen?"
I froze. I was
You
so
fell
embarrassed.
when you were pushed?
No, she pushed me back, right?
Oh,
and
okay.
I dropped my phone, and he turns around and is like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And I just froze, and I couldn't.
It's the meet cute.
I know. I ruined the meet cute, but you know what? It's fine. I have no regrets. I was just having a good time. I was just having fun.
I love this for you. That would have totally been me, though. I'm always trying to like be like, what can we do about this? Like, I love a scheme.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that is one way that people are going to be able to meet. If people who are coming to the show, they know you're single, you know they're single. It's like, you have no excuse. You have no excuse. I have several excuses, but you guys have no excuse to mingle.
On stage, can we please promote that people should...
Yeah.
Like, if you think anyone is cute in this audience tonight...
Okay.
Go up to them.
Let's get into that, though, because I do not have any confidence in people. We are so socially anxious, all of us. Like, I don't know...
Is there any way that we can do some actual crowd work? Do you like how I'm using this as a microphone? Not that there's no... It's because on my podcast we use actual mics that you hold.
It's an empty glass, okay?
It's because this holds like 4 drops of. That's
it's
why
good.
I brought.
We
that's
won't
why
get drunk and say anything inappropriate.
I thought I brought the.
Oh, I did. I moved it because it was in your shot.
Oh, I was like, I thought I brought it over here so we could report.
Oh my God! Feel free to grab it. It's right there.
But what I was gonna say is, should we do some crowd work where we say like, "Hey, you, what's your name?" And then be like, Are you here and are you single? Are you looking for love?
And bring them up.
What is your ideal type?
Yeah, bring them up.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then be like, pick 3 people here that you may be interested in.
I'm going to just have to say yes to this idea because I have a bunch of excuses in my head. It's like, oh, we're going to put that person on the spot. Oh, they're going to get self-conscious.
What do you think comedy shows are all about?
I know, but as someone who hates that shit, I don't want to put people on the spot. I want people to come, mingle, and like have it be organic. I don't want people to attack the person after the show. Like, no.
Well, yeah, but you can always say, if you are not open to doing this, then, or we could leave it up to whoever the woman is. Mm-hmm. I like that. Where you can say, if you are open to love possibly with this person, raise your hand. But then it might feel bad if nobody raises their hand.
Suddenly we're Love Island.
Maybe we say, if you are open to love at all, then you raise your hand. And then he can pick the people and then be like, well, if you two think you could hit it off.
I like that idea. But you're going based off looks, right? Because the person's up there and they're like looking at the people who have their hands raised and are gonna maybe like go and talk to whoever they find the most attractive. Like that's
but vain. I mean that's kind of what
society
first, which I will get into in a bit. Okay. But
we're gonna have a lot of fun, like playing around with it. Crowd work is gonna be fun. My friend Sean is hosting. He is hilarious, and he's just gonna make people. He's gonna put people at ease, and it's gonna be really good.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, and then whatever doesn't work for the first show, the 8 p.m. show, is gonna get workshopped in the 10 p.m. show.
Oh my God, love. And the last thing that I will say about my reinventing myself is that I'm finally doing a bunch of shit that people have been telling me to do for years, basically,
what?
and I've been like making excuses for why I'm not going to do it. Which is that I am going to finally write an hour-long dramedy. Because I have a fuck ton of half hours and shorts and web series and all this stuff. And I have been making all these excuses about why I don't write drama and yada yada yee. However, I love like CW, like YA mystery type shows. And I know that they're not prestigious TV, and I know that, you know, a lot of people look down upon them, but they're something that I really enjoy. And I am the person that when I watch something, I know what's going to happen from the very beginning. Like even in Saltburn, I knew exactly what was happening. I caught all the shit. Yeah, yeah. And so nobody will go to the movies with me because I will literally tell you exactly what the ending is.
You will not. You would whisper in the movie, like, what
No,
the
I'm
ending
saying
is?
like if we watch it at home.
Okay.
Like
okay,
me and
I
like
see.
my roommate or something, I'd be like, I think this is what's happening, and then he'll all of a sudden it happens, and he's like, you fucking, why would you do this to me?
Yeah, I keep it to myself, but I sometimes can be like that. Monica's actually really good at that. She'll catch what's going to happen, and I'm like, damn.
Yeah, I think it's because mainly I say it out loud because I want to see if someone else is picking up on it too, but they usually aren't, so then they're just mad at me. However, I'm like, why am I not using this skill of like planting clues and like seeds and shit, especially like in television?
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like I can have a million different storylines of a million different things, and so and also we'll get into it more in our lessons from 2023, but I was around a lot of drama writers in the NHMC program that I was just in, and I haven't really been around a lot of writers who can pitch on my stuff that are drama writers in the past. And I was just really interested in like the kind of notes that they give as opposed to a lot of comedy writers. And a lot of the ways that their brain was working were ways that my brain works as well. And I was like, okay, bitch, you can do this. Like, just fucking do this. And also, there's a million more drama rooms, and your girl wants to work. Give me a job.
Good idea.
I will have a job in a drama room. I will be the funniest person there. I don't give a shit. Just fucking hire me, hire me. No, we just talked about reinventing ourselves.
Reinventing ourselves. I mean, I'm reinventing myself because I'm just like, okay, new year, new podcast name, new sketch show, and I'm really just gonna focus on like my career and myself.
Yes, bitch.
So no more
lollygagging. To that.
Oh, you refilled mine. Thank you.
Of course.
Cheers.
Who do you think I am here? Come on.
I know, it's like 4 drops of champagne here.
It literally is.
And now we're going to talk about 2023 lessons we had, good ones that we're taking into 2024, bad ones that we're letting go of. What are yours?
Yeah, so 2023 was I will say a pretty big year for me. Ending 2022, I was kind of in an interesting space as far as I came to my career in film and TV. I spent like most of 2022 meeting with a shit ton of managers, having generals, trying to get staffing meetings, all these things that were kind of like out of my control, I would say. And I feel like I left the year having so many almosts and just being like mad as hell.
Like, I felt the same way.
Like I was just, I don't know. I was tired. I was tired of trying to prove that I can do this to so many people who just seem to want me as like a diversity object, but I'm also I'm half Mexican, half white. I'm queer, but I'm bisexual. So I was hearing a lot of like, you're not enough of this, or even, you know, I write a lot of unapologetic women who are villainy, and I was hearing like, we hate these bitches and it's too much, you know? And so I was just feeling really weird about like who I was even weirdly, because so many people were telling me we don't like who you are is what it felt like. And so I decided for 2023 that I was going to have zero goals for the first time in my life, because I had made so many and I felt like I wasn't really any closer to them, although, I was. But I just started doing shit in 2023. So I was on set a lot more for other people's projects. I accepted roles on set that I definitely was not qualified for, and that I was fearful to do. But because I had already built up my network so much, luckily I had people that I could kind of lean on and not feel scared to be like, hey, how do I do this, or what it is. So I learned so much, and I proved to myself that I could, handle these jobs under pressure. And I even did hair and makeup for the first time on set, since years and years before. I used to be a makeup artist, and all of a sudden I was doing 10 people's tribal makeup in the dead of winter outside. My hands were freezing. I was wearing gloves doing it. And so I went and I killed it. I went from one extreme to the other and just was fuck it, I'm just gonna do it.
Wow.
But I think, it's annoying to hear, because I feel like everyone's always just make stuff and just do stuff and whatever. But you don't need to spend, and I know a lot of things are expensive, but you don't need to spend money. You can just inject yourself into other people's things. If you don't have the money to make your own stuff, and this is kind of how I think about even my TV writing career. I don't want to sell a show and just work on that show. I want to be in other people's rooms, and I want to learn from those experiences so that I can make the best show of my own when I have a deal someday. So why the fuck would you want to just make your own thing when you haven't done a bunch of other people's stuff? And you've been able to learn ooh, they did that really well, and you can take pieces from everyone that you work with. I also just love the teamwork and the community of it. Fun. I'm always that bitch on set who knows every single person's name, who gets to know them in between takes, who makes sure everything's okay. I love being a problem solver for people. So yeah, but now that it's 2024, I will say that I need to be a little bit more intentional on the projects that I say yes to, just because I have now the luxury of having people knock down my door being I want you to do this, I want you to do that, I want you to do this, and I definitely did not have that at the beginning of 2023.
Do you see yourself actually sticking to that somehow, saying no to things? Because I feel like Kay's the kind of person, you're the kind of person who's just gonna say that you're gonna do that in 2024, but you're not actually gonna limit, and you're gonna be just as busy as ever,
I mean,
which is good. I support it. I'm be as busy as you can, because one day we're all gonna be old and tired and not gonna be doing a lot.
I did already say no to, I think one project in the end of this year. But I will say that I always am oh, well, I can't be the producer on that because I don't have that much time, but maybe I can be a consulting producer. So, it's I'm saying no, but I'm also still saying yes in a way.
But that is good. I mean? See, that's smart, because I think it ends up working out, I think, when you are able to negotiate that. And especially if it's a project you're really passionate about and you want to be involved somehow, it's hey, if they're open to you being a consulting producer, why not?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if every project I think that's what it is, though. I don't know if every project I'm actually really passionate about, and I need to be better about saying no to being
just flat out no. Yeah.
Because I need to be very strategic with the time that I spend for things, to say, okay, is it really going to help me to do, for instance, a horror short? I don't know. In some ways, maybe, but do I write any of that? No, not really. But will it, maybe if I did one, okay, I can put it in my portfolio on my reel, whatever the fuck. But I don't need to be doing a shit ton of stuff that is not in my genre or my wheelhouse, I would say.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Another thing. Wait, are you gonna say something? Are we gonna go back and forth?
Yeah,
you say something.
I'm gonna say something.
Are you gonna say something?
Wait, is it recording?
It is.
Okay, good.
The red light is still on.
I guess the lesson that I'm trying to take into 2024, it is probably the hardest thing that I've had to finally embraced in 2023 is that I used to care so much about people, specifically bosses of mine, liking me. And when it didn't work out, eventually that's why I kind of like caved and was like, fuck it, it doesn't matter. In 2023, I was like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they like me, it doesn't matter. And now I can feel, I can confidently say that I'm okay with people not liking me. It's like, as you get older, I think it's like, you stop caring.
Honestly.
But I was so just like stuck to that idea of like wanting people to like me. People like I didn't even know that well. I wanted them to like me, you know? And I'm not taking that into 2024. I'm just going to keep.
Yeah, but I think it is hard to your point that the way you get like jobs in this industry is because people really liked you a lot of the times. Like half the time people like recommend me for things they've never read a fucking thing that I've written.
And it's only because they like you.
Yeah.
I know.
And
I
so
know.
it's like a valid thing to feel, I think. But at the same time, if it causes you so much anxiety and stress that you know it's affecting your overall life, then sure, get the fuck rid of it, you know.
It's this dumb TikTok theory that I've been hearing a lot on. It's like the let them theory. It's just like if people don't like them, just like let them not like you. And I think that's the only thing that's been able to help me like detach from thinking that it's gonna help me succeed. It's like not everyone's gonna like you, not everyone's gonna hire you, not everyone's gonna recommend you, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it is. Well, another thing that I had was that I started EDMR therapy.
Oh, I'm so jealous. I want to do that so bad.
Oh, baby.
It's the one with the eye movements?
Yeah, well, there's like, there's different, they see whatever works best for you. Okay. So sometimes there's eye movements, sometimes it's tapping. I started with tapping. It didn't really work for me because I used to play the drums, so I can kind of tap without actually
that makes sense.
Like realizing that I'm tapping, and so I'm not really processing because I can do two things at once. The eye movements I think was better for me because I am such a visual person. But I started it to obviously work through a lot of the trauma that I had disassociated from in my childhood. I was starting, maybe over the past 5 years, I've been starting to actually realize that I even had disassociated from a lot of things. I thought that because I had been going to therapy since, you know, I was 25 years old, like every week that like I worked through a bunch of this stuff, but really talking about it wasn't actually taking it out of my body necessarily.
Yeah.
I was just, you know, talking about it and then shoving how I actually felt about it back down. So it's not a fun process, I will say that. I actually usually at the end of each session, I like hate my therapist. Like it's almost like I think she like made me do it or something. Even though she didn't, you know, I'm doing it for me, but it is, I feel like shit for like so long after it. Like I'm like sobbing the whole time I'm in there, and then I like, you know, it like kind of ruins like my whole day.
I don't want to do it anymore. I do not want to do this anymore.
But I will say that I think it takes like going through that, you know, having the day that I do that or the hours that I do that, and then, you know, it helps overall. Like I've noticed like the changes in my life the more that I do it. And part of that also was that for the first time I actually wrote a pilot that stars my mom as the protagonist, as a single mother of me when I'm like 11 years old. And usually, you've read several of my scripts, but usually my parents are the villains in all of my stories, as they were kind of in my life. And so it's been really therapeutic for me to have to actually put myself, like at first I was like making her, like I was kind of not making her very like in an empathetic way towards her. Like I was like holding on to like anger about like even her character. But then I started injecting more parts of myself, like what would I feel, you know, what would I do if I had an 11-year-old and I was in this situation and whatever it is. And I started like building up, like I don't know, I was like forgiving her like in this process of writing it. And even like forgiving my dad's like absence in my life through the process of this, and just thinking about like they were, like 8 years younger than I am now when like they had
Wow.
me. And I mean, that's pretty normal for back in the 90s and stuff, but I think that has made me reach out to them more, talk to them more. Like I usually only talk to them like a couple times a year, to be completely honest. And in 2023, I really made it a point to talk to them more, to share more of like what I was working on with them, not my actual scripts, but just like what I was doing. And
That's so cool.
I,
And you think that's because of the therapy that you've been
yeah,
and the writing, it's all kind of helped.
yeah. And I think I want to take that more into 2024. I actually came out to my mom this year, which was
That's huge.
kind of crazy. And I only came out to her because I got into a program that like listed me as
That's right.
as a queer writer. And so I was
So
like,
she brought it up to you, or you were like, oh,
no,
by the way.
no, I told her before I like told her about
Oh, interesting.
about the thing, because
Interesting.
I was just nervous. I was like, I really want to share this information with you, but I don't want it to be like, oh, you read this and then you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? And I mean, my mom, her best friend was gay all growing up. That's like her chosen family. She basically raised me in a gay bar, which is what my pilot is about. And the drag queens were, like my babysitters and threw my birthday parties for me and all this stuff. So it's not like she's homophobic or anything. Like that was not hard. But it's always hard when you tell your parent that there is a chance that you're not going to have a life like they pictured for you.
I see.
Which is like, a husband and a wife. And of course she still thinks that I'm gonna end up with man, but well, we'll see. So
Time will tell.
that was another
That's
one for
huge,
me.
though. That's really big. That
Yeah.
seems like 2023 was a lot of growth. Lot of growth. Like that EMDR, the way you described that sound. How long have you been doing that? I didn't even know.
Like a year, probably.
God, I really wanted to do it, and now I'm like, hell no. I do not want to be crying.
I mean, there's a ton of tools that you're supposed to. There's like all sorts of weird shit where like one of them, for instance, is after you go through that whole fucking crying fit and all this shit. Because if anybody who doesn't know, EDMR is basically like you have a goal, you have a statement that you believe. So one could be, let's think of a statement that I am unlovable or something. And then you think of a memory, or actually let me do a different one because I can think of one. So one was that men will always be above women in this world. And the memory that I have of it is my twin cousins who were boys climbing on top of this like slide thing on the top of it where you're really not supposed to climb, and looking down at me and being like, you can't do this because you're a girl. And then I did it, and then I fell off of it and sprained my back. But the thing is just like once you have that, you go back to the memory in your head, okay? And then you do like the eye movements or whatever, and then you see what comes up for you. Like you do it for a while, and then it goes into something else. So maybe it's like, oh, my grandparents like treating my cousins different than me, or something like that.
Okay.
And then it goes into, okay, well, why were they treating me different? Okay, and then it goes to how my grandparents grew up. And you just like go through, you just see wherever like your mind takes you. And while you're doing that, you're processing like the initial thing. But a lot of times, a lot of dark memories come out of that you then have to explain. And so it causes you to cry. But then at the end of it, you have this place called your calm place, which you decide on before you start. And my calm place was in Italy, like walking around by myself with like fresh pastries and like eating a gelato and going to like a big courtyard and seeing kids like blow bubbles and artists paint and just being, and musicians like playing in the courtyard and just like staring at a cute person and like interacting with kids and just like being like there makes me happy. And so at the end of the session, you go back to your calm place and you think about yourself there, and it's supposed to like calm you down from what you just experienced in those other memories,
I like that.
if that makes sense.
No, it makes sense.
And so then anytime you're feeling like really stressed or anxious or whatever it is, you're supposed to like try to go to your calm place, like in everyday life.
And you think that recalling that calm place works, like you, because there are other grounding exercises, right? Like the counting, the grounding yourself and like feeling the room out. But do you feel like that memory of the place is stronger than those other tools?
Oh yeah, 100%. Because as I've mentioned, I'm a very like visual person.
Okay, that makes sense.
So everything in my life is like a movie to me, and that's the only way I really know how to live. And so I can't just like I can't meditate. I can't like breathe. I'm just like too in my head, and I need to be somewhere else.
I'm the same way, but I'm so in my head that it's hard for me to picture a place and actually find it soothing. It's like my brain is still going all over the place, you know what I mean? And I actually find that maybe counting and breathing helps me a little, take me out of my mind a little bit more. But see, that's just everyone's different.
Yeah.
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 No, but that's cool. I want to do it. Someday when I can afford it, because I know it's expensive.
Yeah. I mean, it's worth a try. You know what I mean?
I know. Yeah.
What is your next 2023 lesson?
How do I word this? I guess like as much as I like go through phases of hating self-promotion, I think that this year specifically I need to lean into it, you know?
I'm all about it, baby.
You know,
Let's do it.
I'm so back and forth. 1 month I'm into it, the next month I'm out. Next month I delete my apps. I hate it. But I don't know. Sometimes I just get so in my head about my social media presence. And I was just talking to someone yesterday that was like, you have to be really careful about what you're posting because everything can be misinterpreted. Everything can be misconstrued. And I'm just like, oh, that's scary. I don't want to be misinterpreted.
Okay, but like, I don't really think you're like that elusive as far as like misinterpretation goes. I mean, I feel like my presence is kind of in your face. And so
that's kind of how I feel.
And so you know exactly who I am from, and I'm not going to really change that. So I don't, this is my brand. And also we both write comedy. And I've heard from several people that if you write drama, say you want to be in a drama room, maybe be more serious about your social media presence. But if you write comedy, comedians are fucked up. You know what I mean? Like
which is why they get canceled, though.
Comedy comes from darkness. Yeah, but I'm saying you're not writing anything about like.
No.
You're not posting weird shit where you're gonna get canceled. I'm just saying like, from what I've seen, I can't really see anything that. Like you're talking about pop culture, you're talking about fashion, you're talking about being single, whatever. And that's, how is that going to change? You're going to talk about that in your sketches. You're going to talk about that in your scripts. You're going to,
I think I've just come across a lot of people who are in positions of power that, I'm just going to say it. They see something that you do, see something that you post, and they do take you less seriously. So I'm afraid of that. I'm afraid of not... But see, this goes back to the not caring what people think. It's like a lot to think about, and I'd rather not think about it, and I'd rather just live in the moment and do it. And if it fucks me up somewhere down the road, so be it. Like maybe, there's nothing you can do.
I mean, that also comes back to like building the community of people who actually know you as a person though, too, and can advocate for you. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know much old people who are like looking on social media who would like misinterpret that. I find people more interesting.
Yeah.
In there.
I don't want to in 2024 come at things from a position of like fear. I think that I'm sometimes scared and trepidatious, and I'm like, I don't want to do that this year.
I'm the woman who is empowering you to say let's, bitch.
I know. 2025 maybe I'll like clean up my act a little bit, but 2024 I'm just gonna keep doing what I've been doing. Yeah. Okay, good. Those were good lessons.
Oh, I have one more.
Okay.
My last one is that in 2023, I was an absolute workaholic, which I usually am, but I got like really bad in 2023. Mm-hmm. Like every single day was a 12 to 20 hour workday. And I was sleeping anywhere between 30 minutes to maybe 4 hours every single night.
You could have died, bitch.
Like not eating, and like I was getting sick all the time too, and it's just like, yeah, no shit, because you were not taking care of your body. But I'm the kind of person, when I set my mind to something, I'm like miserable mentally until I get to it, which is why I absolutely should not have become a writer. Because
Wow.
I've just been miserable for years.
You make it look like you're not, so that's good.
Yeah. Maybe I should be an actor. But yeah, so I forced myself to take a trip this year, which you know about, to Paris in the UK.
Oh, that's
which,
right. But you're doing it again this year. You're going to take another trip?
I don't know. We'll see. But I'm saying that, like, in 2023, a lesson that I learned by taking that trip was just that I needed to force myself to rest, and that I also, in doing that, not that I was resting while I was there, obviously I was doing a bunch of shit, but I wasn't sitting in an apartment working constantly.
Was it because of your birthday you went to that trip? Or
No,
you were
I
just
went
forcing yourself?
I went in July. It was because I had just worked on 4 short films and was also working full time. Like literally I worked on 4 short films in 5 months, was doing a podcast, was doing my writing stuff, was doing fellowship stuff, was also working 40 to 50 hours a week on top of that, was taking PTO days just so I could work on set. Like I literally was working like 80 hours a week, and I know that people think that that's an exaggeration, but it is absolutely not one. And when I wasn't doing that, I was going to like networking events and shit to like then, and I would go there and I would just be like, I hate being around people. I don't have any energy to speak to anyone. And everyone was so excited to see me, and I was not excited to see anyone else. And that's not really like me and my personality. So I said, you know what? I'm going to fucking Europe. This is enough of me. Cut it out. And by doing that, I was able to observe people again in like a way that I was not able to in Los Angeles. I went on a solo trip, which is what I prefer, honestly. And also just like talk to strangers. And I think I had like lost a part of myself. I knew I was a good worker, but I lost the part of myself that thought that I was interesting or funny or anything. I was like, I'm a robot at this point. And talking to strangers helped validate that like I was still like a really interesting person that had a lot of stories to tell, and was funny, and people wanted to be around me. And so that was something that I want to take into 2024, is making more time to travel, and to even, not even that, but to do new things in LA. Like I live in this place. I've never even been to Chinatown. I've never, like, I literally have not been to like anything here.
Kay.
And I've lived here 9.5 years. Okay. I've never done like half the shit here that I should be
This
doing.
year you're going to do.
I want to do new things.
Yeah.
I just want to be like fun and playful again.
That's exciting. That's exciting for 2024. It's like bringing fun back into our lives.
How in the hell will I write about anything unless I do things?
Unless you live things. Exactly.
Yeah.
I think about that a lot. I'm like, oh, I want to be working. But it's like, nah, girl, you got to go do things to write about. Because it's not cute to be a workaholic. It's not cute. Well, that's good. That's actually a good segue for NHMC. Let's talk about more work stuff. But Kay got into this amazing program, NHMC. And how did it feel after years of applying to these fellowships, year after year? How did it feel to get accepted?
I mean, I cried, like even when I got, and I'm not a crier. I very rare. My friends, even who have been friends with me for like 20 years, will be like, I've like never seen this bitch cry before. But I do have moments. I think any moment that I get like validation about something, I'm just like, all of a sudden it just like all pours out of me. And so obviously I was a nervous wreck even when I just like got the interview, even when I found out that I was in the finals, whatever. And of course, like by the time I actually got it, I feel like I didn't really register what was about to occur. But it was, 2 months of meeting and pitching myself to like producers, executives, other writers, showrunners, whatever it was. And we really became like, I know every fellowship says this, but now I actually experiencing it. We really did become like a family. Like I like love these people because, well, one, because we had to see each other every fucking day.
Every day.
Except for Sundays.
Oh no.
Literally every night, Monday through Friday, and then Saturday all afternoon. So yeah, we had to go through things together. And it's also just like, it's almost like being in school with people where you see people grow. Like, even from our personal pitches, which, by the way, I can actually give you all 10 of the people who are in
That's
the program's
incredible.
personal pitches at this point because I've heard them so many fucking
That's so
times.
cool. No, that's great.
But just seeing them change and seeing what worked, and we have like a WhatsApp group chat that we're constantly like, when I'm struggling to get the next draft in, or when I don't know about something, I just like, oh my God, crying while I'm writing this scene, blah, 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 and having people like cheer you on.
That's cute.
And yeah, it's just, and we're all so different from each other, and we're all from different places. And it worked like a writer's room the whole time. So not only did I get to develop my own new pilot, which I talked about, kind of the drag queen one, the little girl ends up becoming a drag king.
That's the one you developed the program?
Yeah,
That's so cool. I can't wait to read that one.
Yeah.
Every time you've mentioned it, I'm like, I can see it. And then now it's a thing, right? You finish writing it.
Yeah. I mean, so cool. I'm on the 4th draft, and the final. I will do this because nothing is ever really done. Oh, it's not recording anymore.
I'm not relying on that camera anymore.
Okay. So the final is due on Monday. So I sent
this
it
Monday?
Yeah.
Oh God! Wait, what? I thought it was over, the program.
It is, but
the
it's
drafts,
like
still drafts.
Yeah. The drafts.
No, that's good.
It
keeps you working on your stuff.
Yeah, I mean, my second draft was due the 28th, so like I was working on it for Christmas. But yeah, so it is keeping me. I'm a deadlines person. I need deadlines,
Me too.
Otherwise I won't do shit. Honestly. So. Yeah, I was not only developing that, though, I was having to go through the entire process with 9 other people. So I had 9 other stories in my head, whether they be a genre, sci-fi, a regular comedy, a dark thriller, like all of these things. Yeah. And I then had to use my brain to make, it's essentially what you do in a regular writer's room when you're working as a staff writer. I had to take, if each of these people are the showrunners, I had to take exactly what their vision was and then have like intellectual notes that I could then share with them literally every week on their presentations and their homework, on top of like doing my presentations and my homework.
So Kay and I are happily single. And I'm just wondering why. Why? Because we want to be, but also like why? And I don't know, because I'm amazing and Kay's amazing. So, Kay, what is going on?
Why don't you start?
Okay.
I just chattered on about all this shit.
Fine, Kay, I will start. I am single right now because I am so demanding. I am always like lying and saying that I'm like low maintenance, but I've finally just acknowledged that I'm very high maintenance and I require a lot of things from someone.
Yeah, that's because you give a lot of things.
Exactly.
You're a giver.
No,
and so you want a reciprocation. It's called partnership.
I know. But it's like the fact of the matter is that like I got out of a 7-year relationship and I know what it entails to be in a relationship, and I'm like, I want nothing to do with that right now. But why do you think you're single?
Oh my God, you just have one thing. I have a whole
Mine
list.
Encapsulates a lot. Mine encapsulates like I'm true. High maintenance. That's a lot.
Okay, well I made mine into tiers.
A PowerPoint presentation.
So I'm gonna start with something that I think is funny, and I am single because I am as cute as what we aim for says, shallow as a shower.
I've never heard of this. Is it a
Yeah.
saying?
It's a song from Cute as Well Being For, which is like a Warped Tour band, like back in the day. Like
You're
a
shallow
punk
as a
pop.
shower.
I'm shallow as a shower.
Oh, Kay
I'm
is a
shallow.
Libra, and this is like a known Libra fact. Like Libras are vain and shallow, and like it's true.
Okay, that was part of what I was gonna say.
Okay, continue.
But yes, that is very true. I will say that it went back to even my childhood in that my mother, my single mother, was a painter, a food artist at one point. She's very obsessed with flowers. She was a Latin dancer. She sees everything in this life as a beautiful, like, work of art. And she is very much about the presentation of anything that you ever do, and including yourself. She sees your body as a work of art, so your clothes are always we were always ingrained in me that it was super important to express myself through clothes, through makeup, through hair, and then that represented me as a person. Not necessarily, she wasn't like, oh, you got to be skinny and all that shit. It was more about like what you chose to do with your body, and how you chose to present yourself to the world. And so I am very much like that. And when I see people, like, literally, if I can't stare at you for a really long period of time and I don't want to look at you, I cannot be with you. Like, I know that.
That is the most shallow thing I have ever. You're making a mess on my couch.
I am losing shit over here.
Oh no.
This will be a good TikTok. Wait,
This
I'm gonna
will be
get
the TikTok clip,
yeah.
guys.
This will be
Champagne flying into
literally
the air.
flew. This is because I'm holding this fucking cup.
There's a lot going on.
There's a lot going
The
on.
headphones,
Please
the
hold.
glass.
Please hold. So that is the first thing. You have to be pretty.
You have to be pretty.
You have to be pretty. And the reason why I'm wearing this Justin Bieber shirt is because he's such a pretty boy. And I also like girls too. So I would like my men to kind of look like lesbians. So yeah, that's the first thing.
Reason one.
Also is that I am selfish.
All of these are going to be clips. They're amazing.
Yeah. My goals and my career are always going to come first, kind of as Helen talked about. I saw once again, everything that I ever do comes from my childhood. So I saw my mother put men first in her life and really care about like who loved her and or who didn't. And she, unfortunately, is now single at 60 and does not have the greatest life. So I never wanted to be that. Another one is that I am guarded and I do not trust people easily.
As you should.
I put walls up to protect myself. I think Helen talked about this as well. I don't really know if I'm sure what being loved looks like. I know that it's different for everyone and for every single person that comes in and out of your life, but yeah, it's hard for me to be vulnerable. I think.
So hard. But that's why we do it on podcasts.
Yeah, and in our writing.
Yeah.
You know? And the last one that I will say is that I have a wild relationship to sex.
Oh, really?
I feel that I like it more when I'm not as connected to a person. And I think that is just because there's less stakes there. There's less of a chance of me, getting hurt or anything. I was definitely a fuck girl, if you will, in my 20s. Probably broke a lot of hearts. Bit of a man eater, but yeah, I want to obviously be better in my 30s, and I think I already have begun being better. So
no, that's great.
We will see.
You are self-aware.
Yeah,
that's great.
It's all that therapy, baby.
For being single. Better reasons than mine, but yes, perfect segment to wrap up. We're gonna shit talk because shit talking saves lives, and it is true. Like, people back in the day gossiped to survive. You had to know what was going on to be alert to not die. So
Chismosa.
what?
said chismosa.
Chismosa. I didn't hear it because of my headphones.
I feel
what?
like the only things that I can gossip about are things that I cannot talk about on here because they have to actually do with my own life or people in it.
That's so lame, Kay. The only reason you're here is to air it all out.
I'm not... Okay, listen up. I will say that part of this prompt was how I responded to haters.
Oh,
and
yes, let's get into that.
And so the thing is I actually don't like gossip that much. Of course I like it when it has nothing to do with me. I will
I'm calling bullshit on I don't like gossip that much. Literally, Kay got here and we started gossiping. So this is bullshit, Kay.
Okay, but we can't talk about the gossip right now.
We're not gonna, but I'm just saying you cannot say you don't like the gossip.
Okay. I do like gossip, but all the gossip that I have is stuff that we can't talk about.
Okay, see, two different things can be true. We can't talk about it, but you like it.
But I don't like it when it has to do with me, obviously.
Obviously, nobody does. Nobody. If there's one thing I hate, it's that. It's when people are talking about me behind my back. Oh, this brings me back to the reason I asked you this prompt. I saw someone on my social media say, if you got a podcast mic for Christmas, like maybe don't, or something like that. Something very hatery. And I was like, why are you hating? Why are you being such a fucking hater?
Said to you?
No. A vague statement. This is not towards me.
Oh, but I think that's kind of funny.
It's funny, but it's also like, I am so over the haters. It's like, who gives a flying... If your friend has
like to hate on
podcast.
Some stuff.
No, see, so this is what I feel really passionate about. And I get into this argument with Monica a lot. Because we'll go back and forth on like, oh, it's so fun to hate on these things. But it's like, no. It's like, if someone wants to have a podcast, who gives them? If someone got a,
Well, I mean, you don't have to listen to it. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying.
But I do like to hate on certain things. But not that specifically. But, just like other things that I find irritating. I do like to be irritated. I do like to be bothered.
I don't.
I think it like a lot of comedy comes out of it.
I think it is a waste of emotion.
Oh, I love it. I think it's also because my dad is basically like Jerry Seinfeld, like reincarnated. So like one tiny inconvenience, he would be like going off about like 1,000 things he hated about some like Biscoff cookie not being in stock at the local Meijer or something. And I would find it so hilarious. And so now that's like kind of how I storytell, is like by despising something.
I respect that, and I love watching like Seinfeld. I love watching Larry do his thing on Curb.
Yeah.
I think I like to watch it. I don't think I like to have it in my life. It's like, why are you going to be a hater? Like, just.
But it's also like I don't actually feel that emotion. You know what I mean?
Oh, see,
like,
that's interesting.
I feel it when I'm like, whatever. But then it goes away like immediately.
Away. Yeah,
so,
I can relate to that. Where I get annoyed, it's like when I see people like just let it make them like miserable.
Oh, no. I don't dwell on things.
No, you don't strike me as someone who does.
No, but what I was going to say about the like haters is that the reason why I try to only talk about a lot of stuff to do with myself nowadays is because I grew up in West Michigan, which is literally like a place of normality. Everybody like grew up there, stays there. Their grandparents are still there. They all do the same fucking shit. They all wear the same clothes. They all have 3 kids. They all like go to the same places. They never leave this goddamn town, even for vacations, except to go to Florida. And so what do? They talk about everyone else.
Yeah.
And they talk about like people's parenting styles and blah, blah, blah. Like shit that like, what kind of gutters so-and-so got? Like fucking shit that does not matter. So every time I go home, I'm always like bored out of my goddamn mind about the gossip that goes around. However, I will say when I was younger and in high school, the gossip was about me. So most kids weren't allowed to hang out with me for the most part. I remember one time I brought this fucking girl who like stayed the night with these guys at this college party and they left her ass, and so I felt bad for her. I barely even knew her, brought her home, and she got grounded just for riding in my car. Like, and I didn't even know this bitch. Like, this is how known I was. It's like a person that like, don't let your son date this person. Don't let your kids hang out with them. And so I had this like thing where I was like, well, if everybody's going to think that I'm bad, I'm going to be bad. And I'm going to show them what bad is. So then I started like my villain era, I would say, where I just was like a fucking wreck. And I think I kind of carried that into my 20s. as far as like, I'm a bad girl and like, watch out for me. But then I realized that I was only hurting myself in this whole thing several arrests later. And so I am not like that anymore. However, I have a very weird thing with haters where I just find it very easy to either, one, feel bad for them.
Yeah.
Because I know that it's some sort of like insecurity within them and or jealousy within me of something that they want or they're jealous of. But, you know, there are certain limits that I can reach. And I will say that if you step to me, I will obliterate you with my words. I do not use any violence. But because I study human behavior and I do know, I can tell what everyone's insecurities are, I will use them against you. So you have been warned.
Yeah. Proceed with caution. That's good to know. I'm scared. No, but I agree. I think that it's always like an insecurity within themselves. It's like, okay, that person who posted that, it's like he clearly wants his own podcast. Go do it. Go do it. Stop hating on other people for potentially starting their own podcast. Someone yesterday was like, why does everyone have a podcast now? I'm like, this is you just being insecure. Like, go do one. Go have your own.
It's an accessible way to share things that you want to share or talk about.
It says so much about just like the human experience, just being able to like learn about yourself. I'm not going to get into that right now. But anyway, and then also last thing I wanted to say is I think that comes with age. I think you kind of grow out of being a hater. Some people probably not in your hometown, it doesn't sound like. But I think as I've gotten older, I'm like, oh, I'm less jealous, less insecure.
Yeah, well, we're tired.
We're tired.
I don't have time to put energy into hating things or people.
It is time to wrap up the podcast, and I want to say thank you. I want to plug that you got your podcast, She Said Let's.
Yeah, with Hannah Horwath.
Excited for what you guys are going to keep talking about this year. Very excited.
Everywhere you listen to podcasts, and also some of the video episodes are up on YouTube.
And you're on Insta as at OCS.
At OCS Productions, and at Broch as my KAYBROCH as my personal one. And obviously me and Helen have SRL.
Oh my god, yeah. Come to our show. The show's going to be so fun. It sells out so quickly, which is why we had to do 2 shows in one night.
I'm scared. I almost don't want to tell people to come because I just want my friends to come.
Just don't come, guys.
Don't come. Don't come to the show.
But it's going to be so fun. Come to the February show. I'm starting to like brainstorm on like what I want to do for Feb for Valentine's Day.
Oh my god, I must be a part of this one.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be really fun.
I love Valentine's Day. Red and pink.
Thank you for coming.
Of course.
Bye.
All right. Ciao.
Bye. Ciao.
Adios.
Adios. I love you. There's like